Some Muslims claim that the numerical patterns found in the Quran are evidence of its divine origin. They see these patterns as proof that the Quran is a miracle and a perfect revelation from God. I'm going to demonstrate how all of this is a bunch of nonsense. My name is Armin Navabi. This is the Secular Jihadists. Let's get started.
So chapter 32 is called Sajda, prostration. There are 30 verses. So the prostration verse is verse 15. And lo and behold, it has exactly 15 words. And not to mention the word prostration is the 186th word in this chapter. And if we add 1, 8 and 6 together, what do we get? 15, which is the verse number of prostration. Let's take the prostration verse, multiply it by 2, we get 30, which is the total amount of verses in this chapter. Let's also take 186, which is the position that the word prostration comes in this chapter. We multiply that by 2, we get 372, which is the total words in this chapter. Coincidence? Not convinced?
You shouldn't be convinced. There is nothing significant about what he just showed us. The Quran is a large body of text. You could do this with any other large body of text. Think about it. Why did he multiply them by 2? Why not 3? Why did he add them? Why did he not multiply them? There are many things you could do. There are a lot of ways that you could play around with these numbers until something seems significant.
Let's look at chapter 71, which is the chapter of Noah. The total amount of verses are 28. So let's minus the verses from the chapter. 71 minus 28 is 43. So 43 is the amount of times Noah is mentioned in the Quran. There are 43 chapters after this chapter that do not mention Noah, and there are 43 chapters that come before that do not mention Noah either. How many do mention Noah? Well, it's 28, the number of verses in this chapter.
It's essential to recognize that finding patterns in large texts is not unusual. The human brain has a natural tendency to search for patterns and order. This is called apophenia. Look it up. The human brain is predisposed to identify patterns and connections in data. This leads to perception of meaningful patterns and connections even when they are random and coincidental. You might think that these patterns are too unlikely for them to just be coincidental. But you have to understand, all of the other patterns are also very unlikely. Every pattern that you could find in any large body of text would be very unlikely, but you would only find some of them meaningful. Given the large number of meaningless patterns that exist in large body of texts, some of them are going to end up looking significant.
Wait, there's more. Let's multiply the chapter by the verse. That's 71 by 28. We get 1988. And the 1988th verse in the Quran has how many letters? Yes, that's right, 43. And for the maths boffins out there, 71 is the highest prime factor of 1988. I'm still not done. If you look at Nuh is a 3-letter word. The first appearance of Nuh is in chapter 3. Yes, and it's first mentioned in verse 33. And in the chapter of Nuh, it is the third word mentioned 3 times. And lastly, the people of Nuh is mentioned 14 times. The 14th prime number is 43, which is the total number of times Nuh is mentioned.
When dealing with large texts or data sets, it is statistically very likely that certain patterns will emerge. By chance, the Quran is a large amount of text, so the likelihood of finding patterns or connections is high. In fact, the miracle would be for you to come up with a work of literature that would not have such patterns in it. The identification of the patterns that are significant to us is influenced by selective interpretation or cherry picking of data.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, could not read or write. So he didn't sit there writing and then counting the words and then mirroring it. So it would have been impossible for the Prophet to mastermind this literary miracle.
You don't need a prophet. You could get a monkey typing on a keyboard, and if the text gets long enough, it is guaranteed that it will have patterns that the human brain will find significant.
So is there any wonder why so many people, Muslims and non-Muslims, are impressed by this book? The religion is the fastest growing on the planet, and why you, if you are Muslim, should be reading it and benefiting from it more, and if you are non-Muslim, you read it and you accept Islam.
I am convinced that Islam has a miracle, but it is not mind-blowing patterns. The actual miracle of Islam is the fact that it has managed to convince so many people that such nonsense is a revelation from God. I've been your host, Armin Navabi. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.